part of the reason was that, putting on the music historian cap, back in the, I was going to say 50s and 60s, but you go back even before rock and roll to the big bands and the show tunes and everything like that. In the 50s and 60s in rock and roll, there was no such thing as singer-songwriters. Right. In other words, there was two distinct
they wrote
music camps, I guess.
Big for that.
Right, and not only was it pretty unknown for an artist to write their own songs, but they were discouraged from it, and in some cases they weren't allowed to, because there were songwriters unions that if you wanted a song, you went to this, you went to the songwriter, Tin Pan Alley, one of the famous ones. You went to the songwriters and got a song. That's why you'll see back in the 50s especially, then it was still in the 60s but not as much. In the 1950s, you'll see like 5 different versions of the same song by 5 different people. It's not like, Elvis, Wanda Jackson, Little Richard all said, hey, this is such a great song, we all have to do it. It was, okay, here's the pool of songs we have to draw on.
Don't forget, too, though, in the 50s, the black artists wrote their songs or had hits with them in their market, but the white people had to have it, so they made them re-record those songs so they could get it on the radio. So there was that whole battle, with the royalties and whatnot to get the song out.
It wasn't a battle though, because the black songwriters and performers didn't have a chance.
Right, but I'm saying, they made it popular by the white people that were, Pat Boone being one of the big ones at the time that did all those songs that.
Yeah, even the legitimately famous, popular white performers like Elvis. I mean, it was the same thing, and because the black songwriter, like you said, was that completely widespread? Like black artists couldn't get on any commercial radio,
there were some that did get it, but it was very limited. But the white people was the one who put it on the map. I mean, then you had bands like Led Zeppelin that came in, took those songs, put their name on it, and gave them some royalty, and called it Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I don't know if Led Zeppelin gave too many royalties.
No, didn't they rip off some band in Philadelphia with one? And there's a big thing going on right now.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, and they're still playing over the lawsuit to see who.
Well, I wasn't thinking of Stairway to Heaven. I was thinking of the blues. The old black blues man.
They did a lot of Dixon stuff.
Was it Willie Dixon? Whole lot of love.
Well, look at the Blues Brothers selling out stadiums over a Saturday Night Live skit of actual songs where the people who wrote and performed the songs got absolutely no respect.
Well, the only thing I can say about that is that one of the songs that they did without paying royalties and gave no respect to was Robert Johnson. And we know that when the Blues Brothers, Belushi's already dead. And when Dan Aykroyd joins them, they are going to be performing their Blues Brothers act in a very unpopular, unpleasant hell. Because we all know that Robert Johnson is in good down there. So he's just waiting. So the Blues Brothers will get what they have coming to them.
That was a good point. Yeah, they made it on a whole career out of doing covers off a skit.
Yeah. But, the Led Zeppelin thing, that was just an blatant ripoff.
It was.
But it was a different kind.
People don't want to admit to that. They fear they're going to get their heads taken off because it's Led Zeppelin.
Well, that's too damn bad, because the Rolling Stones recorded plenty of black blues, and they gave full credit. Yeah, the Rolling Stones went out of their way, to popularize the bluesmen.
What's scary about that is that whole British invasion, it took the British invasion to show America how great their music was, because they didn't give a shit about it.
Well, at that point.
Yeah, and the British invasion comes in, everybody's, oh, wow, that's a great song. Wow, that was your... I mean, they didn't appreciate it the way...
Well, you're talking about the Beatles mainly, right?
Beatles and the Stones.
Right, redoing the Chuck Berry, redoing the Little Richard.
Stones, they were big on that. That early British invasion movement.
Yeah. No, the British invasion definitely re-energized, the American rock scene, no question about it. But actually innovated, too. I mean, the Kinks... Actually, where would we be without the Kinks? The Kinks were the first band to use distortion on an album.
You really got me going back to that. That's where it came from.
Yeah. So, and Van Halen added more distortion a few years later. But, the Kinks were the first band to record with distortion. John Lennon was the first, at least according to him, was the first person to use feedback on an album. I don't know how true that is, but...
He's trying to drown out Yoko Ono.
Yeah, I don't want to hear her.
Supposedly, I don't know if you can prove it. The Monkees took the synthesizer to new heights before anybody else did.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, what they used to do with Yoko Ono was that when Lennon was on tour by himself after the Beatles with Yoko Ono, they just shut off her instrument.
And I guess they pulled that on the Dick Cavett show when they got ready for their sound check. They did it with their instruments plugged in, and then once they actually went to do it on the Dick Cavett show, they had a stagehand unplug everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen video of the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band in concert, and Yoko Ono was like pounding on the piano keys, wondering why no sound is coming out.
Oh, it sounds very good.
Nothing. Well, let's go down. Let's spin a couple more tracks, and if you can believe it, we're just about out of time, but we will have a little bit more with George Goner going on, wrapping up 3 hours of broadcasting here on Rhode Island Free Radio on this Thanksgiving Eve. We're going to hear from the Crimson Ghost. This is Astro Zombies right here on Rhode Island Free Radio, rifreeradio.org. Drink, Dance, Die, the name of that one. A little bit of the now defunct The Goners right here on Rhode Island Free Radio.
You owe Roger a nickel.
Online at rifreeradio.org. Before that, the Crimson Ghost, Astro Zombies. Hey, thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us, if you can believe it. Again, it's Radio Warp time. I feel like we just sat down and we are rolling almost over 3 hours of broadcasting live here on Rhode Island Free Radio. It is Thanksgiving Eve. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out. Of course, if you're catching us live, if you missed anything, you can catch us in podcast form. And if you want to listen on the go, be sure to go to rifreeradio.org, click on the TuneIn app, or click on the TuneIn logo and download the app, and you can take Rhode Island Free Radio wherever you are. I lose track. I believe George Goner has the floor.
I have it right now, but I'm going to have to give it up in about 30 seconds anyway. So actually, let me turn the floor over to Ed, because there's a few events coming up and a couple of things that need to be mentioned, and my memory fails.
Well, not always does your memory fail. However, there are a few things that I do have to bring up. What is it? November 28th, this coming Saturday, Small Business Saturday. Make sure you get out and support local businesses. This coming Saturday, however, I personally am going to be doing a private tasting at the Greenwich Cove Meadery. I have to get that straight. They're doing me a favor. They're closing down a little bit early. They're doing a full tasting. They're bringing out food for me and everything. They're doing a hell of a job, and it's one of those businesses where they started off a year ago. This time last year, they were just starting off, and they brought out, I think it was like 3 flavors. By Christmas, they completely sold out of all their stock. They did not expect the amount of business a little bit of notoriety would get them, and they sold out by Christmas Eve. I went there.
Didn't you show up? Yeah, didn't you show up hoping to get Christmas gifts? And they were like, "Oh, we're closed, dude."
No, I was going for personal stock at that point. I was looking to get a little bit of alcohol to put up with family for Christmas Eve. No, it's true. It's true. I went for the Southern Comfort after that. But, no, I put up with family nicely. They reopened in March, and I've been keeping in very close contact with Bob, making sure he had enough alcohol to get me through the weekend.
I think this is the first time in Rhode Island Free Radio history DJ Psychotic just threw up on the air.
It was a throw up. It came up just a little.
Oh no!
It's called a burp. Plus, don't forget November 28th from noon till until the last person standing over at Borowski's, 1662 Main Street. They got about 7 bands coming down there. The least of which are the Fots, Frenzy of Tongues. Have you heard of them? They put on an awesome stage show, literally right around the corner from the studio. Who else is playing there? I think Roadkill's playing, a few other bands. But they also have a truck coming down. I cannot remember what the name of the truck is because they mentioned it about a month and a half ago. And you know how my memory is. I can't remember names, let alone, truck names and everything else. But you definitely want to check that out. That's this Saturday, Small Business Saturday. What else do you have, George?
Oh, the most important